Yo, what's up with it, y'all? It's JD and I'm back with another quick video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about safety in Brazil. This is a subject that a lot of people have been leaving comments in the comment section about, what's the safety in Brazil like, how safe is it to be out here? So I just figured I'd go ahead and address that question. But before we get into the video, if you guys are interested in fitness, health, travel, overall growth content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can get updated every time I drop new content. But let's get back into the video. So obviously, when you talk about safety in an entire country, especially one as big as Brazil, it's a fairly nuanced question because you got, different factors that you have to kind of think about or take into consideration when you're talking about safety in a whole country as big as Brazil. Brazil, as far as like landmass wise, is way bigger than the United States. And as far as population, it's pretty much on par with the United States as far as the size of the country. So you got to think about it in terms of, that's just like saying, is the United States safe? So you could talk about, certain areas might not be safe in the United States, say for instance in California. If you're in a place like Los Angeles, certain areas in Los Angeles aren't safe. Like if you go to South Central, but if you're in like Beverly Hills, it's a safe place to be. If you're in the Bay Area, where I'm from, you can say certain areas in the Bay Area aren't safe, but places like Richmond, places like East Oakland, West Oakland, different areas in Vallejo, those type of areas aren't safe in the Bay Area for the average person. But if you go to a place like Walnut Creek, you literally have nothing to even worry about when it comes down to your safety. There's literally almost nothing that can happen to you in Walnut Creek. I never heard of anybody getting robbed in Walnut Creek. So you have to think about it like that. And Brazil is no different. Certain areas are going to be a little bit more sketchy, a little bit more dangerous, and certain areas aren't. Certain cities have a higher crime rate, and certain cities don't. So let's go into that. So from my experience being in Brazil, I don't necessarily feel like, my safety is, in jeopardy pretty much wherever I've been. Now, if I had to say one city in particular, I felt like a little bit uneasy in certain aspects, it would be Rio de Janeiro. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like Rio is known for their tourism. So I feel like a lot of the people maybe who are looking to commit crimes, looking to rob people, they might go to certain tourist areas. And this is what, from my experience, what I've heard. They go to certain tourist areas specifically to rob foreigners. So I don't necessarily think that going to Rio, you're not necessarily gonna have to worry about losing your life or anything like that. But as far as maybe getting robbed, you do have to be careful. And this is actually a universal rule. No matter where you are, even if you're in a place like Walnut Creek, like I said, the city I mentioned before in the Bay Area, or Beverly Hills, you have to keep your head on a swivel at, to a certain extent. You know what I mean? You never know who's gonna do what at any moment. So you have to kind of be aware of your surroundings no matter where you're at. If you're in a bad neighborhood, if you're in a good neighborhood, whatever it may be. So, but in a country like Brazil that does have kind of a certain level of poverty, a certain level of people who are, kind of a big group of have-nots, you have to take that into consideration to, scale that up, times 10. Because, people who don't have food are willing to rob, pretty much for anything. So you got to be kind of on your P's and Q's. Man, right here. Matter of fact, I'm going to continue this video. Look like the sprinkling system's coming on. Anyways, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and continue the video right now. Sprinkling system came on down there, so I just wanted to change locations. But anyways, I think I was at the point of the video where I was talking about how when you're around people who are struggling, or around people who might not have as much as you do, it's important not to just floss on them anyways, you know what I mean? So if you coming out to Brazil with the mindset that you're gonna wear gold chains, flashy name brands, try to floss on people, or, basically, I would say more so guys will probably be doing this more so to try to pick up women, because I think that's a tactic that a lot of men use. I've never been somebody who wears a lot jewelry. I've never really been somebody who wears name brand, expensive name brand clothes. So it's not necessarily something I even think about. But if you're the type of person who does like to, dress nice, maybe wear jewelry or things of that nature, this might not be the spot for you to do that at. So you might want to kind of dumb down your style a little bit, make it a little bit more simple. It's nothing wrong with coming out to Brazil wearing a white t-shirt, some shorts, or a tank top and some shorts, and if you're in a city like Rio de Janeiro, I mean, it's so hot out there a lot of the time that you're not really going to be wanting to wear a ton of clothes anyway. So that's another reason to, get in the best shape of your life. So, you know what I mean? If you want to get in best shape of your life, hit my website up, book a free consultation with me. That's Travelsthenix.com. Chop it up for about 15 minutes about getting in shape. That's not what this video is about. Like I said, don't floss on people. Just make sure that you kind of are on your P's and Q's when you're out here. And different cities are going to have like a different crime rate. Different cities are going to have like a different vibe when it comes down to crime. So for instance, when I was in Sao Paulo is like a big city, but there's so many areas in Sao Paulo that are like super nice, super upscale, that a lot of times when you're in those areas that you just don't feel like you're in any threat of any type of danger at all. It's like they have an area out there called Villa Olympia, Itaim BB, Pinheiros, Villa Madalena. Like all these areas are just super safe. Like there's literally nothing that you really have to worry about when you're in these areas. And for me, I don't know. I think that Rio kind of, I never really worry about my physical safety, like somebody harming me physically when I'm in any time in Brazil. But I think that sometimes I worry about like if I leave my bag someplace, or maybe if I'm not paying attention, I got my cell phone out, somebody will snatch it and run. So those are more the type of things that I feel like you kind of have to worry about when you're in Brazil. Now, if you're a single woman traveling, that's a completely different experience. And honestly, I don't necessarily think that I could even give the type of advice for a single woman who's traveling. But as a single man, you don't necessarily have as much to worry about. And as a single black man, like you really don't have anything to worry about, because a lot of times in a place like Brazil, there's a big divide in terms of like economics here, and a lot of it is racial. So a lot of times black people in this country maybe don't have as much as black people maybe in the United States. And I was actually chopping it up with a brother out here about that, and he was saying that black people don't really have as many opportunities in Brazil. So a lot of times if people see you and you don't open your mouth, they might just think you're Brazilian anyways. So they're probably not even going to think that you even got anything for them to take, especially if you dress in super low key and you super kind of like on the under with it. You know what I mean? So for me, that's one thing. And another thing is, for me at least in particular, I feel like when people see me, like I'm not a very small guy. I'm not saying I'm the biggest dude or the most badass looking dude out there, but at the same time, people see me walking around with a tank top. They see I got some muscles. I'm 6 feet tall. You know what I mean? A black dude walking around anywhere in this world, I feel like I'm not going to be anybody's number one pick to rob or try to take something from or try to physically harm. You know what I mean? Just on the strength that somebody's not really going to know what to expect back when they try to do that to me. So that's another thing in terms of like traveling to Brazil. Like I feel like if you're like a black person or a person of like a person who kind of blends in with the people here, you have a little bit of a privilege here, because there's a lot of people here who are like black, mixed, maybe like Latino looking, and I feel like if you kind of have that look, then you kind of blend in anyways. Now, what I've noticed, and from what my experience in terms of people who I've met who've been traveling to Brazil, most of the people who I've met who've gotten robbed are all white boys. Like, no disrespect, and I'm not trying to say anything bad, it's just a fact. It's like most of the people who've gotten robbed, or most of the people who have felt like their safety has been in danger, has all been white dudes. And a lot of times this has been in Rio de Janeiro, but it's a trip, because it's like, even for me just walking around Rio, like it's so obvious to see like a white dude who's from Brazil and then a white dude who's like a gringo, because it's like a completely different look. So for me, I can kind of see why they kind of stick out in the crowd and why people would kind of look at them and target them as a mark or a lick for some, to try to rob them and get something off of. And a lot of times these dudes is kind of dressing a little bit up, kind of try to, make themselves look as good as possible so they can, appeal some of these women out here. So who you are actually plays a role in it as well. But, one thing I think is a little bit overrated, and granted, I know the statistics say otherwise. The statistics say that Brazil can be one of the most violent places, to travel in South America and the world, I think. But I think that's more so if you're in certain areas or you're in certain neighborhoods or if you're involved in certain activities. If you're somebody who's coming out here, number one, I don't do drugs, you know what I mean? I don't buy prostitutes, you know what I mean? I don't participate in that. Like, I'm not looking to go to the favela to get some type of excitement or, try to feel like I went to some tough neighborhood or something like that. So for me, I'm not even putting myself in a situation. Like, if you're looking to partake in any of those activities, if you're somebody who does coke or if you're somebody who, likes to buy, prostitutes or whatever it may be, that's all well and good. I don't have any judgment on you, but at the same time, there's risks that come along with doing those activities. Now, I've stated it before in my other videos. Yeah, I smoke weed, you know what I mean? I kick it and drink or whatever like that. But I'm not going out of my way to go buy weed in Brazil. Now, if I'm with some people who might have it, yeah, I'll take a hit. You know what I mean? And when I'm out at night and drinking and kicking it and all that type of stuff, I'm still on my P's and Q's. Like, Brazil's also not a place where you kind of want to get like shit-faced to the point where you're going to black out or don't remember what happens. Like, you want to be, in full capacity, full control. You need to be able to know where your wallet is at all time, know where your cell phone is at all time, make sure you got your keys on you, all that. So you don't want to get so inebriated to the point where you can't even keep track of the things or you can't even keep track of where you're at. For instance, I was in Sao Paulo and me and my homeboy Gustavo went out. Actually, we was going out every night, actually. So we were going out to a lot of more upscale places, but we went to this area, Pinheiros, and we were just kind of walking around, and he ended up taking me on a walk. He was like, yeah, this area right here is like not as good, not super dangerous or whatever, but when we had got there, actually, there was like a big ass fight that broke out, and I actually saw a dude pull out a gun. So, that's putting yourself in a situation, or it's not even really putting yourself in a situation, but I'm just saying these type of things can happen. But for me, it's not really a huge deal. It's not like I've never seen somebody pull a gun before. Like, I grew up in the Bay Area, Oakland, Richmond, all these different areas that, I kicked it and spent time living in when I was a kid or adolescent or whatever. I've seen these type of things happen in the United States, so it's not necessarily unique to Brazil. Like I said, you just kind of have to be on your P's and Q's anyways. For some people, it might be a complete culture shock. If you're somebody who's coming from, Iowa or Minnesota, I'm not saying that nothing goes down in these areas as well, but, certain areas where it's just like completely safe, no crime, there's not necessarily a lot of people who don't look like you, you might be in for a little bit of a shock. For somebody who might have been from one of these areas where they don't have any crime in the United States or in these European countries or something like that, seeing somebody pull out a gun would be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But for me, it was like, oh shit, I seen somebody pull out a gun, let me go in the opposite direction. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be around that type of shit. So for me, as soon as I seen that, I was like, let's get out of this neighborhood. So that's pretty much what it is in terms of the crime in Brazil and just safety in general in Brazil. Like I said, my overall takeaways is that, actually, I want to talk about one more thing. I want to talk about going to different cities. So from my understanding, the most dangerous city to be in Brazil, even on a statistic level, is going to be Rio de Janeiro. Now, there is a certain level of crime in Sao Paulo as well, but I don't necessarily think that you're as susceptible to it because I don't think they're necessarily there targeting tourists. Now, I'm in Salvador de Bahia right now. Beautiful city. Beaches, perfect weather, you know what I mean? Beautiful women everywhere. Way more laid back of a city. It's not necessarily as hustle and bustle as Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo. But for me personally, Salvador seems like a way safer city, especially than Rio de Janeiro. And honestly, it seems like a safer city than Sao Paulo as well. So if you're somebody who kind of wants to enjoy Brazil, and kind of, you know, pick up the culture and pick up the language and all these different types of things, and you kind of want to go to a more chill spot, go to a more chill city. Like Salvador is super chill. I know there's some other cities, Florianopolis is probably way more chill. If you go to like some of these other places up north, like Natal, I heard is like pretty chill too. So, you know, if you go to these type of places, you know, I'm not gonna say that you're not ever gonna get robbed and people don't get robbed in these places, because I'm pretty sure they do. You know what I mean? Just like I said, anytime you have people who are starving or people who don't have as much, they're looking to take from other people. It's just simple as that. But like I said, it's way more chill, way more laid back, and I think the fact that things are a little bit more spread out makes it seem a little bit easier too. It's like right now, I'm up here kind of at this little monument. It's like one of these little Jesus monuments right here. And like, I would say this is not necessarily a super tourist attraction, but it's like a monument, and it's like right in the main area of Baja out here in Salvador. And you know, you haven't seen one person pass by me. If I was in Rio, there's no way that I'd be shooting a video in a place that, you know, a lot of people kind of populate and congregate. Like if you come up here at sunset, it's a ton of people here. But there's no way I'd be shooting a video somewhere and like people just haven't been passing by and all this other type of stuff. So the fact that I have more space and there's not as like condensed and densely populated means that I don't have to worry about somebody coming up and snatching my shit. You get what I'm saying? Even when I go on the beach out here, there's certain areas of the beach out here in Salvador where there's like nobody at. So you can actually kind of just leave your stuff in a bag. I would keep my eye on it, but you can actually go into the water and kind of leave your stuff kind of on the shore. Now, if you're on the beach in Copacabana, you're on a beach in Ipanema, even on the beach in Baja de Tijuca, I probably wouldn't leave my shit. Actually, not even probably, I would not leave my stuff on the beach there. And even certain places on the beach out here, I wouldn't leave my stuff on the beach out here, just on the strength that you're just leaving your belongings and anybody can just come through and snatch it up. So, you know, these are all things to take into consideration. Like I said, it's a super nuanced discussion as far as safety in Brazil. I honestly think the best people to talk about safety in Brazil with would be people who've been living here for a long stretch of time. I've been in Brazil for about 2.5 months now, and for me, I haven't felt in danger at all as far as my physical safety. I haven't felt in danger too much as far as like my belongings or people like kind of, you know, doing petty theft. But at the same time, the only place that I really did feel like kind of uneasy about that was Rio de Janeiro. But that's obviously the most touristic place, and if you're watching this video and you're going to come to Brazil, more than likely you're going to actually go to Rio. So for me, Rio is probably the place where you kind of got to be on your P's and Q's the most. So that's just I kind of rambled on a little bit longer than I actually anticipated on this video, but I wanted to kind of go into depth on different subjects in this video, like your race, you know, and who you are coming into the place. If you're a man or a woman, you know, what city you're going to, being in certain areas, if you're trying to participate in like kind of the underworld stuff with the drugs or the prostitution or different things like that. Like different aspects of being in Brazil, like different things are gonna put you at a higher risk to getting robbed or higher risk of getting harmed or getting drugged. Matter of fact, I know a white dude, in Sao Paulo that I met the last time I came out here, and he was always fucking around with dope, and he was always fucking around with prostitutes, and in turn, he got drugged a couple of times fucking around with prostitutes because they had gave him some coke that was laced with something, or I don't know what had happened. Regardless of whatever the situation is, he got drugged, he got robbed. Luckily, I don't think he got physically harmed at all, but you know that can actually happen to you too if you putting yourself in these type of situations. So you want to come out here and kind of be careful and be wary when it comes down to participating in that like underworld type lifestyle. I know it's appealing, and a lot of these YouTube channels, you know, they kind of like promote the prostitution aspect of being in a place like Rio or even in a place like Colombia or whatever. But you know, you want to, at least for me, when it comes down to meeting women, I like to do it as organic as possible. You know what I mean? So I like to actually meet quote unquote regular girl. If some of my homeboys were watching this video, they'd be laughing at me right now. because something that happened when we was in Colombia. Matter of fact, I'll just go into the story actually. So me, my homeboy from California, and then these sprinklers is coming on everywhere. Anyways, me, my homeboy from California, and my little bro who was living in Colombia. We was all kicking it in Medellin, and there's a Colombian cat. I was like, man, where do I go to meet like the regular girls? It's not prostitutes. And everybody just started laughing at me like, man, there ain't no regular girls out here. But anyways, there are plenty of regular women, plenty of beautiful women out here, plenty of successful women, plenty of down-to-earth women out here in Brazil. So I would probably try to go that route. Now, if you're here for a short vacation, sometimes it takes a long time to build rapport or whatever, but people are a little bit more open in Brazil in general. So as far as like meeting people on a casual basis, like if you go out at night in Brazil, like, it's a little bit easier. I actually want to make a video about that as well. But I do that. I'm actually going to start a Patreon. So I actually do that on my Patreon video. But yeah, so the cultural dynamic in Brazil is definitely a trip. But I do want to expand on that. And I want to expand on like the nightlife aspect, the dating aspect, just in terms of like, one thing that I kind of want to make a video about is like sex here is way more casual. Touching and kissing and all that type of stuff is just way more casual and as well. Like, this is one example. This is the last thing I'll say in this video because I'm gonna cut it after this. Going out at night is not a big deal. If you go out like to the club or you go out to the bars in like Sao Paulo, Rio, wherever you're at, probably in Salvador too. I haven't went out here yet. It's not like strange to like for people to like just kiss random people. Like, it's not strange to like tongue kiss like 3 to 5 to 6, 7 girls in one night. Like, that's just a thing that they do here. It's strange to me because to me it's like, if I'm gonna tongue kiss a girl, like more than likely I'm gonna like do something else with her. But out here, that's just the culture. Like, even me, my homeboy Gustavo, and this other cat that I met from Switzerland, like we was all kicking in this one bar. And like we had met some Korean girls, and like the girls were like, or one of the girls was like, hey, kiss my friend. Oh, she wants to kiss you. Oh, you kiss her. You kiss, like, that is just like she was just trying to get people to kiss these random girls. It was a strange thing for me. But anyways, that's just a normal thing out here. It's just not really normal for me because I'm from America. We're a little bit more prudish, and as far as like being touchy feely, kissy, like, we're not really like that in America. So, that's just a cultural difference. I'm pretty sure there's other places in the world that are just like that. But, yeah. Anyways, guys, hope that answers some questions. If you guys have any other questions about my experience in Brazil so far, go ahead and leave that in the comment section, or you can hit me up on Instagram if you don't want to leave. Actually, leave it in the comment section. Leave it in the comment section if you have any other video topics you guys want me to touch on, any other questions that you guys have about Brazil. I hope everybody's having a great day out there. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.